take them a minute. That's how fast they can do it. But I'm sure the prep time and the post time is a lot bigger than that. So here is your, so what was this one? Pronator teres. Flexor carpi radialis. And on top? And now this one right below. See that one? Now, it seems deep, but it's really, there's another one deeper than that. So we call this one, the anatomists call this one, the flexor digitorum superficialis. You have to say it like that. Did you ever watch Mary Poppins? You know?
No.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, even though the sound of it may sound atrocious. Flexor digitorum superficialis. Flexor digitorum superficialis. And why do we say it like that? Because if you go deep, there is a profoundly deep one called the flexor digitorum profundus, which is not on your list.
Okay.
You don't need to know that on the list. But that's why they call that superficialis, because to me, it's not superficial, right? But it's superficial compared to the profundus. You get it?
What was Palmaris longitudinal?
Right here. Palmaris longus is the one that's snipped there, right? And it's on top of the flexor digitorum superficialis. You have to see it. Now, when you look at this on a picture, it's hard to tell what this muscle is here and this. It's kind of weird, you know, the angle, because this is a three-dimensional object. So when we turn it over, you're going to see some essence of this at some point, and it may throw you off. So what you do is just follow it all the way up to its origin. Remember, all the flexors come from the medial epicondyle. All the extensors would come from the lateral side, or the lateral epicondyle. So let's look at the extensors of the wrist. That's the same, right? So, remember I did this with somebody. I pressed on the muscles and their fingers went up. Remember? Wasn't that fun? They're doing deep tendon reflexes or whatever. So this is the brachioradialis right here. Brachioradialis. And notice this one is different. This is not just an extensor of the wrist. This one flexes the forearm. And so it's coming up much higher than the lateral epicondyle. So this would be like right around the lateral epicondyle here. This is above it. This is coming from the supracondylar ridge, above it, you know, supracondylar ridge. And then it inserts down into the radius. And what this is the brachioradialis, which is a unique muscle. If you're standing like this, like a robot, it flexes the arm at the forearm, right? Brachioradialis, like hammers. You know what a hammer exercise is? You take the barbells, you do this, hammers, you know, or like a sprinter would practice that to get their push when they run. A lot of sprinters, they'll do that exercise to get more of a push because it gives them more power when they run if they exercise this with weights. Now that's straight up and down. However, if you read in a book, what is the action of the brachioradialis, it'll tell you it flexes the forearm, it supinates, and it pronates the forearm. So we said this was pronation, right? And this is supination. How does a muscle do both? The question you're going to ask yourself, right? You get confused. How does a muscle do both actions? Well, it depends on your starting position. If you're starting in the pronated position, and because of the way it inserts on the lateral side by the thumb, right? As the muscle contracts, it pulls the thumb straight up, right? So what is that doing? That's supinating it, right? Turning the hand out a bit. So it's flexion of the arm and supination. If you're starting in the supinated position and you flex it, it will pronate it up. See that? So that's why when you read that, so you don't get confused and you understand the basic principle. If you see something like the pec major, we talked about that, right? That the pec major can both flex and extend the arm. How the heck does it do that, you know? Because its origins are in a different, and depends on the starting position. If I'm in this position here, and my pec major has fibers coming from all the way up here. If I'm in this position, it could pull it down. That's extension of the arm, right? Your epidermis extension is back this way. And if I'm in this position and I tighten it up, I can bring flexion of the arm up. So the pec can do both because it depends on your starting position. And it's the same thing with your brachioradialis. It can both pronate and supinate the wrist or hand depending on your starting position. But basically what it is, it's a flexor of the arm, of the forearm. It flexes the forearm, right? So if you gave me an answer, you'd probably say, what do I do on a test? Brachioradialis, flexion of the forearm. Let's keep it simple. Right?
Okay.
Flexion of the arm at the elbow, whatever. Okay? So next one over is your extensor, what is it? Extensor carpi radialis longus and brevis.
Okay.
Yeah. Extensor carpi radialis longus and brevis. Right? Is that what it says in the book? On your list, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have it on the list? The forearm. Extensor carpi, the extensors above. Okay, so this is the extensor. So right after the brachialis is the longus. It's the longer one. And the short one is the brevis. So extensor carpi radialis longus is 20. Extensor carpi radialis brevis is 21. Then going right in the middle, you have one that's going all the way down. Notice it has tendons going to your fingers, to your digits. So this is the extensor digitorum. Extensor digitorum, right here, number 30. Extensor digitorum. So it goes like the middle digits, right? The three middle ones.
Mm-hmm.
There are some fibers coming out to the pinky, but there's a specific muscle for that, and that little tiny itty bitty one coming over to the pinky, the extensor digiti minimi.
Which?
Extensor digiti minimi. Smoke tea, anybody? Right? When you drink tea and the pinky's up, that's your extensor digiti minimi contracting, right? Okay. And then laterally is your extensor carpi ulnaris. That's your extensor carpi ulnaris right there, number 32. If you're wondering what this muscle is right here, it's not on your list. This one right here, that's the anconius. And that muscle helps to extend the elbow too. The last part of extension of the elbow kind of locks it in. Okay? All right. So now, here we go. When you do this and you rotate it over, you're like, okay, what's this one? Well, let's follow it up to the origin. What is it? It's got to be a flexor, right? And that's the flexor carpi ulnaris. So you got to trace these things down with your fingers and find the origin and the insertions to help you to understand it. We're not doing these abductor muscles. These are the abductor muscles of the thumb. You have the abductor and the extensor pollicis longus, brevis. We're not doing that. And yeah, the abductors of the thumb and the extensor of the thumb, we're not doing that. It's not on our list, right? So you don't have to worry about that. Okay. And there's also another muscle deep, the extensor indicus. We're not doing that either. Is it on the list?
Yeah, well, the first one you said that one on the list for the extensor carpi.
That's the adductor.
Ah.
Yeah. The adductor pollicis is different. And we're going to cross that one off the list. Right?
Also?
Yeah. So no adductor or abductor pollicis will be on it. Right? Okay, so that's the forearm. So what I'm going to do before we go on, I'm going to give you time to go over the arm and forearm so that you can grasp that rather than jump into a whole other topic.
Okay.
So go through the whole arm, review the chest, review the arm, the scapular muscles, the entire arm and forearm, and then we'll come back and we'll do some more. We'll do the leg, the lower leg.